Hi, everyone, and happy Monday. Today's episode or session, or whatever you want to call it, is about parenting and the art of forgiveness. Why it's so important to exemplify forgiveness for our children, sometimes meaning that we ask for forgiveness so that they will be able to learn to forgive. Stay with me. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. Oh, forgive me today. I apologize in advance. I am still trying to get over not feeling well, but talk to me, talk to me. I'm really, really going to need you, Facebook and Instagram, today because I am, as I said, trying to get well. Who is in the house tonight? Hey, Teray, Mr. Deaver. Awesome to see you guys. The topic had to be spoken on today, so we're gonna be in the room tonight. How's everybody else doing? I hope everyone is doing well. Good, good, good. Glad to see it. Glad to see it. All right. So I was not here last week, so I have a lot of catching up to do. Trying to see how everyone else is doing. We're gonna give it a few minutes for everyone to kind of come in tonight. Hey, Mr. Leonard, how are you this evening? So glad to see you. And hi, Miss Karen. Awesome, awesome. We shall give it a few. I actually did not log in on Instagram. 1 second or two. Um, hmm, yeah. All righty, guys. So sorry. All right. So let's just get into it. So tonight's topic is going to be parenting and forgiveness and why it is so important um, to not only exemplify forgiveness as a teaching tool to our children, but to also be or allow ourselves to be put in a position to ask for forgiveness as well. Um, the reason why this topic is coming up is because I just kind of the last couple of days been thinking on it. I've been watching relationships, um, listening to a few things, having a few clients, and I was just thinking like, wow, the word forgiveness, as powerful as it is, um, has sometimes been perceived as a curse word or something that is only for those at a lower level to exercise instead of all of people, all of humanity. Everyone is supposed to exercise forgiveness, teach forgiveness, and to be the example of what forgiveness is. Hey, Mama J, glad to have you in tonight. So, forgiveness is actually a necessary tool um, of freedom. It is a necessary tool. It's a builder, it's a binder. Forgiveness has become so much over my years of looking into it and reading about it and kind of teaching it over the years as well. Forgiveness is a tool that a lot of us don't use because it, first of all, can only be used from a certain place, meaning that if you're going to use forgiveness, you have to first allow yourself to be in a place of vulnerability that a lot of people don't like to be in. Tonight, we're talking about parents specifically, because this seems to be a hard one for parents, especially parents of adult children. Well, no, I'm going to say that differently. Parents of adult children, but especially parents of younger children. There seems to be this hierarchy of forgiveness. And the higher you go up, the less you have to say it. At least that's the misnomer, is that the higher you up in ranking, um, the less responsibility you have, or shall I say, the less accountability you have to express it, show it, and also bring meat with it. So we're going to go into that tonight, because there's a lot of people that's hurting right now. There's a lot of children hurting, adult children that are hurting, because parents are having a hard time um, asking for forgiveness. And how do you say it? How do you mean it? What do you bring with you as a gift with it? And what is the expiration date on it? Those are the things that we're going to be talking about tonight. So before I go all into my spiel, I want to hear from you. Is forgiveness hard? Is it hard for you to ask for forgiveness? And if you can ask for forgiveness, how long do you really think? Well, we'll save that second part of that question, for a little bit later. But for right now, just, is it hard? Is it hard to ask for forgiveness? Go ahead and let me know. Facebook. I'm still trying to log in on Instagram. Um, my, I don't know what I'm doing at this exact moment, but go ahead and answer. Send me something. Let me know how you feel about it, or even if it's easier for you, maybe you don't want to put yourself out there tonight. Go ahead and let me know. Maybe you heard that forgiveness is hard or something of that nature. I'm completely open to however you want to put it out there. But let's talk about it. Let me know who we have in the room. I'll wait for you guys. The question again is forgiveness hard? Is it difficult to say, forgive me? I'm going to assume that people are typing. So I'm going to still hold off a little bit. And again, try to figure out what the heck is going on with my Instagram. Hmm. What's up, Facebook? Y'all, Instagram be killing y'all. Mm-mm. All right. So, is it hard to say forgive me or to ask for forgiveness? So, let's see. So, I have a yes. That it's hard. Can we go into why? If you're just now joining us, we're talking about forgiveness, the importance of it as a parent, to be able to ask your children for forgiveness and not get caught up in the whole hierarchy of parenting, that I'm the mom, you're the kid. I don't have to ask you for forgiveness because I'm the mom. And if we do apologize, sometimes it's so short. It's like, I'm sorry, get over it. Okay, it's not that serious. Calm down. These things that we say to our children because we are the parent, that we kind of dismiss it. It's like, I'm sorry. It's like adding the word but to I'm sorry. It's like, I'm sorry, but the reality is that I'm sorry or asking for forgiveness is something that is very necessary. So let's see. Mm-mm-mm. Sometimes you think you've forgiven, and you haven't. So it's hard and a hidden concealer. Okay. Um, so the question is, let me ask the question again. So is it hard to ask for forgiveness? I'm going to double back to that one. So we have it's not hard because I empathize with my son. I remember being in his shoes and not hearing it from my parents as a child. Okay, so that's wisdom. That's wisdom. See, when I was younger, yes, but at this time in my life, no. I love the freedom that it's given me. Awesome. We have some wise old owls in here. And I don't mean old as far as age, but that's just wisdom. Wisdom. So so the question, so again, we're talking about forgiveness and the importance as a parent to first be the example of forgiveness for our children. So that's the first level that we're going to talk about tonight is, are we being examples for our children on what forgiveness looks like? So a lot of times we have a lot of us in our families are not talking to our sisters. We're not talking to our brothers. We're not talking to our siblings. We don't talk to our girlfriends. Sometimes our children have been raised up with Auntie Kathy, with Uncle Frank, and then you and Aunt Kathy or Uncle Frank fall out, and now not an uncle anymore. We don't see them anymore. We're not allowed to go over to their house. We can't play with their children anymore, because if you mad at one, then we supposed to be mad at them too. And it's like this whole thing. And as you grow up, you learn that forgiveness have conditions. And growing up, especially in certain cultures, it's like, no, that thing is like forever and ever and ever. gosh, is losing my I can't remember it right now. If anybody can remember the families from back in the day, oh gosh, they were like cowboys. Uh, oh, where's my husband when I need him? Where's any history buff? But they were like these two families, notorious for not getting along, and it went on for generations and generations and generations. And I can't remember them now, but some of us are living in those type of situations where you have family members that just don't get along. There is no forgiveness. I don't care what they say. You know, you don't talk to them. You can't talk to my daughter. Don't talk to my, and we're showing, thank you. Hi, friend. The Hatfields and McCoys. There they go. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. There, look at everybody know but me. Everybody know but me. So I couldn't remember, but thank you. Okay, so yes, everybody knew but me. Right, the Hatfield and McCoys. So they, yeah, that thing went on, and I mean, it was vicious, it was violent, it was a trip. But that was the example of unforgiveness, and it was so embedded. Unforgiveness was so embedded that it literally just went handed down, handed down, handed down. I mean, you had kids fighting kids. If one McCoy saw a Hatfield, it's on. And that thing went on and on and on and on and on. And so what did it teach these little Hatfields and McCoys? That there is no such thing as forgiveness. No, you never forgive. I don't care if my great, great, great grandfather died. Yes, you're right. Leonard, it went on for multiple generations. We witnessed this. This is not something that was made up. This was something that was witnessed and historically violent. But yet we still choose not to forgive. And you could see that that is handed down. It's handed down. So what are we handing down to our children? You know, I'm faced with something similar. You know, we look at our family members and how we're trying to mend, and how we're trying to be like, I don't understand what the problem is. You know, and I understand there are situations where if one's not willing, you know, it's hard to kind of show that bridge. But what you can do with your children is to show them your efforts, that they see that, no, they see you calling, they see you sending birthday cards, they see you, the whole time, you know, constantly trying to kind of blend, trying to bring in that forgiveness, because it's a factor. It's so important that they see us walking out forgiveness, and in doing that, it makes them more willing to also begin to forgive. Now, that's another point that Leonard brought up, is that it got to a point where nobody remembered what started it. I don't know why I don't like them. I just don't like them. You know, and you have that. That is so common. I've heard people who have made those same comments, Leonard, that they don't know why they didn't like their cousins. Their mom just always said, we don't talk to them. So they grew up not having a relationship, and sometimes they've come to know each other, didn't even know they were related, and was like, they're pretty cool people. You know, why are we not speaking to them? Because that thing, it just goes on and on and on and on. So, speaking to parents tonight, being that example for your children, that they see you reaching out, they see you still speaking, even if that other party won't speak back. Even if that other party ignores you, even if that other party refuses to acknowledge you. My husband tells a story, and it's still, I mean, like, he had probably a little bit more than I would have had in me during that time. I've leveled up, I've grown a lot more since then. But he tells the story of the woman that we used to work with, or he used to work with. And every morning he would come in and he would speak to her, and she would go and keep walking, talk to everybody around him, and would refuse to speak to him. He barely knew her, did not know why she didn't like him, but he would come in every morning and speak, and she would ignore him. Like literally, it just be him and her. He couldn't be talking to anyone else, and he would speak, and she would ignore him. He would say, ask her a question, she would completely walk away from him. And my husband spoke to this woman continuously. I think it was like 2 years, and she never responded until finally one day she got so annoyed. She said, "Why do you keep talking to me?" And he was like, "Why wouldn't I talk to you?" He was like, "When I come in, I was raised to speak. So I'm always going to speak to you when I see you. I'm always going to talk to you when I see you." And she was like, "But why? I don't speak back." She said, "Most people would have just given up by now. You know, this is going on for years, guys. Most people would have given up after like a couple of weeks. Some of us would have given up after day 2. You know, some of us would have given up that day, that moment. You know, she would have never heard good morning from us again. But my husband was diligent, and he just continued to speak. And it was an example for everybody else in the office, because what he was doing was continuing to show love, even though that person was like, absolutely not, was not doing anything. So he was being an example of continuing and forgiving. Every time she wouldn't speak, he forgave her immediately and did it again as if she was going to speak the next day. And I asked him, I'm like, "Babe, did you not, like, when you got ready to speak to her, wasn't there like the possibility? Didn't you think she's not going to speak back?" And he's like, "But there was also the possibility that she would." And I'm just, right? So it's these things that our children watch us do, watch how we behave, how we interact. And I remember being one that I I dig my heels in, and I'm like, once you burn me, it's a wrap. Once this bridge, my daughter said something about me, and I kind of laughed at it, but then I thought, "Ooh, is that still in me? Am I still like that?" Because she said, "My mom, shoot, it." What she said? She said, "If you burn a bridge with my mom, you better learn how to swim, because there was no getting back, no getting crossing back over." And I was like, "Ee," but that was it. That's what I taught them when they were growing up. They saw where I was like, "Nope." Why? Because I'm sensitive, because my feelings get hurt easily. And when you hurt my feelings, I cannot let that slide. Oh no, we got to figure this thing out. But I've since then grown. But the fact that my children said that, I was like, "Oh, not good." I got to make that right. As a parent, they're watching us. They watch how we respond to things. They watch how we do things. Even as they grow up, as they're adults, they're still watching us as they're learning adulthood. And some children are in their 30s, their 40s, and they're still looking to us like, dang, if she's still holding on to that and she still ain't speaking to my auntie, then that means that then it's right. Because there's certain things that when your parents say it's okay, because mom does it, dad does it, So we have to really, really make sure as parents that we're putting our best foot forward. We're trying to heal so we can forgive. It's so important, because it's I don't know, 100-fold the blessing of it, because we learn to forgive. We forgive those who does whatever they do to us. We forgive them, and then our children now have to ask questions. Why did you forgive that, mom? That's crazy. Why are you still talking to this person? Why are you still doing this? Why are you still doing that? And in doing that, and them watching us forgive, that opens up a dialogue. And when you have that dialogue, now you have a position to teach, and you have a position to say, this is what forgiveness does, and this is what unforgiveness does. This is why I choose to forgive. And I do believe, hi, Connie, hey, cousin. I do believe that, Leonard, he hit the nail on the head. He said when he was younger, it was harder to forgive, but now he loves the freedom in that it's given him. He loves the freedom of it. So when you begin to teach your children, hey, you got to let it go, because in that is freedom and liberty for you and that person, because now that person has the ability to grow. You have the ability to grow. Now you can see things a little bit differently. We've talked about this before, that once you come out of something, you can look back at it and you see it differently. But when you haven't forgiven, it's hard to see it clearly, because you see it's skewed. Your vision is skewed. You only see it from your point of view. You see it from your pain. You see it from where you were misunderstood. You see it from where they didn't let you get your words out, or whatever it was. You only see it from that point of view. But when you begin to try to forgive, when you begin to open things up and you say, okay, I forgive you. Now you kind of see why they did what they did. And it doesn't necessarily make it better, but it does give you a little more sensitivity. It gives you compassion. It gives you that ability to now look at that person differently. And now you can not only forgive, but you can walk out that forgiveness. And there's a difference. You can say, I forgive you, but when you begin to walk out that forgiveness, that's a little bit different. And we are going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that tonight, because that's a whole topic all by itself. What that looks like, walking forgiveness, walking that thing out. There is a gift. You got to bring meat for repentance. And sometimes that can be a little bit, it can be a task. But when your heart's right, it's not daunting. So we'll talk about that later. But so our examples. What were your examples? This is my question to you. What were your examples when you were growing up about forgiveness? What did you see? You guys talk to me. What did you learn growing up about forgiveness? I wish I had trivia music to play when I ask you guys questions, like I can't. I'm not a soprano. Okay. Let's see here. But that's the question. So, what was your example of forgiveness? So, if you're just coming in, we're talking about forgiveness and the importance of showing forgiveness to your children, so that your children will know what that looks like, so that you can open up that dialogue, so that you can teach forgiveness, and to be able to bridge and all the wonderful things that forgiveness is. But when you're growing up, especially in certain cultures, forgiveness is sometimes not seen at all. Some people are in their 40s, 50s, and still haven't heard their parents say, forgive me. And they know their parents got some things they need to be asking forgiveness for. So as a parent, is it difficult to ask your children for forgiveness, and why is it so difficult? I don't recall as a child hardly ever hearing my parents apologize to me for anything. If anything, it was still my fault. And how dare I ask them to say sorry to me for anything? It really, if you really look at it, when as a parent, when you don't apologize to your children, you teach them their worth. And as children growing up, all of the little cliches, children are to be seen and not heard. Those ideologies that are kind of walked out in a lot of cultures, it's really, you really teach your children that their worth is not as much as yours. And that as a child, you're more like a thing than a person. Because if you really look at it, it's like, okay, if your child was an adult and something happened, just out of common decency and respect, excuse me, sorry, forgive me, can you hand me, do you mind if we don't usually ask our children questions. We don't say, hey, if you have, can you grab me that so-and-so? It's like, my daughter told me, she said, Mom, when you ask us questions, they're kind of rhetorical. You say, do you mind handing me? Well, if I do mind, I can't say I mind. If I don't want to, do I get to say, no, I don't want to? So we have these rhetorical questions that we pose as questions, but they're not really questions that we want answers to. So the way that we are raising our children and showing them these examples of just common respect and common decency one to another, it's really a hierarchy. And we got to be careful of that, because this generation now, they're like, nah, and they're bucking up against the system because they're like, what you did was not okay. I said something to my 15-year-old the other day, and she said, Mom, I just wanted to go on record that hurt my feelings what you just said. I don't think I deserve that. And I looked at her and I said, it's on the record. We'll talk about that later. Go do what I need you to do now. We'll come back to this, because even me being growing up in a household where you'd be like, what? Huh? You wanted to go on record? You have a record? You recording things. Oh, okay. But I had to, like, okay, she's telling me how she feels. All right. She wanted to go on record that okay. So after she finished doing what she had to do, we came back and I said, okay, so I'm going to need you to put some more sugar on your words. You can say, yeah, I can go. She goes, well, I didn't mean it like that. I was like kind of jokingly filling it out to see how, how you was going to take it. And I was like, it's fine. I said, it's okay for you to tell me how you feel. And if I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings, I didn't mean it that way. What I was trying to say was boop, 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 boop. I explained what I said. Then I told her how I would like her to express her feelings to me as her mother. I'm like, you have a voice, but let me show you how that voice, the octave and the the timing of the voice. And that's okay, because I want her to know that I hear her, and I want her to know that her voice is important. And I apologize to them. My daughter today, I'm like I said, I wasn't feeling good, and I snapped at her, and then I had to call her back up and say, hey, I'm sorry, when I said what I said, and she's like, oh, Mom, it's okay. No, you're not feeling good. I'm like, nah, it's not really okay. I shouldn't have done that. I said, I should have told you I'm not feeling well right now. Let's table it. I said, so I pushed myself further than I should have. And so you don't just slide it. I try to make sure I don't slide things and just be like, when she gives me a way out, I take the way out. No, because I'm teaching. As parents, we're always still teaching. We're teaching. No, it's not okay that I snapped at you. I did not have my emotions in check. So it's not okay, because the thing is that I'm supposed to be able to check my emotions. I didn't check my emotions, and therefore I said something to you that hurt your feelings. So, you're always teaching. You're always teaching, and parenting is not, oh my God, I would have never had not one of them if I had known all of the things. But anywho, I digress. So let's see. What was it like when you were growing up? I grew up in the seen, not heard household. Forgiveness, what's that? I'm laughing, but it's really not funny. I mean, we did grow up like that, we really did. Teresa said I had unresolved hurt for years until I was old enough to address it with my parents. Yeah, me too. Except 15, you ain't old enough to have feelings. Right, exactly. So if you grew up in a time, where it was just like, it just was not common to have your parent actually say, I'm sorry, forgive me, I messed up, Um, but sometimes it comes on the back end, as you do know better, you do better. But what I have found that even now, as an adult, when you apologize to your child and your child is still having an issue, now we want to put time constraints on the forgiveness factor. Talk to me. What do you think about that? How long should you still be saying I'm sorry? How long is I mean, like, on your time scale, once you ask somebody to forgive you, how long does that thing play out? Is it, for a couple of weeks? You got about, you got a good 30-day window to heal, and then, we got to move on. How long, and what is the expiration date on that? Talk to me. Uh-oh. Oh, guys. Oh, this is rough. I need some tea or something. I know I'm making you guys work. Y'all like, this is my job, huh? Yeah. So we ask for forgiveness, and forgiveness is a tricky thing. So let's, while you guys are typing, I'm gonna just kind of go into like forgiveness, the factor of it. There is so much I wish I could like really, really teach on this. I've been actually studying this for years. It's just been one of those things that always comes back. And I find myself going and finding things and reading books on it and doing all these different things. But forgiveness, again, like I said before, it puts you in a place of vulnerability. Both parties are in a place of vulnerability. The one asking for forgiveness and the one that's in position to receive it. Both are vulnerable, because when the one that's asking for forgiveness has to first humble themselves and allow themselves to realize what they've done. That within itself is tricky. It's difficult for a lot of people, because you got to realize what you've done without any buts and becauses and all the whys and the how comes and all of the things that we say that helps us with the our reasonings, all of our I was trying to use the word, but our excuses. To put yourself in the position as the one asking for forgiveness, number one, that's number one, is putting yourself in the position to see what you've actually done. Number two, it's a vulnerable place, because now you put yourself in a position of rejection. Because when you ask for forgiveness, you now also put the person that you're asking, seemingly has the upper hand. Because if they say, no, I don't accept your forgiveness, or if they want to go on and on about what it is that you did, now your place of vulnerability begins to shift. Because when you come to ask someone for forgiveness, you come with a certain level of vulnerability that, and you may not know it, but that you're willing to participate in. So let's say it's a level of 6. This is where I'm at in vulnerability. I'm gonna go at a 6. If she keep digging, and going on and on about how she felt and how when I said it and when my face looked, and she keeps digging, my level of vulnerability is going to start to go down. I'm going to go down to about a 4 because now I'm having to hear what was actually said, what was actually done. Because again, remembering in forgiveness, when you have been the one that has offended, you remembered in your mind a certain way. The way you see it is not the way the person who was offended saw it, or because if that was the case, then there would be no offense. So what I say or how I said it, to me, wasn't that bad. Which is why we tend to say, get over it. It wasn't that serious. It's not that big of a deal, because we're the one that's saying it. We're the one that's doing it. And our intentions are not disclosed. So the person that's being offended is the person that is receiving it. They're on the receiving end. So they're looking at our facial expressions, the timing of it. I mean, it's so much that comes into offense. Okay. When a person is offended, there's so much that's involved. It's your tone of voice, your body language. If you moved your hands, your facial expressions, the time has a lot to do with it. Because I hear people say, well, it wasn't what you said. It was just, you couldn't hold that until after I was off work, or you couldn't, just ignore that factor right now in front of everybody. So who's involved? It's so many factors involved with offending somebody. And so we say sometimes that people are so easily offended, and some of them are, but some of them have valid cases against us. It was our tone of voice. We did say it. We were sharp with it. Our timing was off. Yeah, we said the right thing, but did you have to say it right then? Did you have to say it in front of so-and-so? Did you have to say it right, with that type of tone? Did you have to say it, so there's so many things that come into play when someone needs to forgive us. So when we come and we say, will you forgive me for something? Our level of vulnerability has to stay at a 10. Because when you ask for forgiveness, what you're actually asking that person to do is to relive it for that quick second. Because when you ask somebody to forgive you, they're going to remember everything that you did. It's just, it's impulsively. So what you're asking of that person is to relive it and then let you go. So think about that. When you ask somebody to forgive you for something, the moment you ask them to forgive you, they have to relive it and then decide in that moment if they can release you. So sometimes when we ask for forgiveness, that person who is going to release you wants to make sure that you are releasable. Okay. Now, I wasn't going to go all into the forgiveness thing, but they want to make sure that you are releasable. Okay. Now, as the one that's asking for forgiveness, because we are asking, hopefully, with a repentant heart, then we should give them that room. It's like this little mini trial that has to take place. There's this little mini trial that has to take place. When you say, please, will you forgive me? Is it a question or is it a command? That's the other part of it. Sometimes we ask for forgiveness from our children as a command. Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry. Dang, stop crying. Get your stuff. Let's go. It's a command. It's not a question, because there's nothing that comes with it. We don't leave room for the trial. We don't leave room for the person to re-experience it. We don't leave room for the person to even really consider releasing us. We come with minimal vulnerability, high arrogance. I'm coming to you to ask you for forgiveness. Give it to me. No, because I asked, you need to just give it to me. No, there's a whole process. And when we're as parents, we really don't want to give that power to our children, to actually go to our child, allow them to put us on trial because we feel like there is a hierarchy. I am the mother, I am the father. You don't have a right to check my behavior or my what I've done, my attitude, my whatever, my words, my decisions. You don't have the right to check that. And so I'm not saying do not misunderstand what I'm saying. There is a place, there is an order of parent child. But what I'm talking about, we're talking about forgiveness. We're talking about a tool that is so freeing, that is so dynamic and multi-layered in its effectiveness, that you want your children to feel that they can have a trial with you. You want your children to feel that they can have a conversation with you where they can question your behavior in a respectful way that brings you back. Oh, thank you so much, honey. That brings you back to a place of remembrance so that you can get free and they can walk away free. There's this thing that happens with forgiveness. And as parents, we don't want to rob our children of that. We don't want to rob them of that freedom that Leonard was talking about, that freedom of being able to say, wow, my voice matters. My opinion matters. I am important enough that I can tell my parents my feelings was hurt. I could tell my parents, dang, that was harsh. Or I could tell my parents, I don't think that's fair. I can have a conversation with them that is received in a way that we both walk away free. It's a win-win. I know as parents that we would never willingly deny our children. We love them. We would never take something from them that we know that is going to be good for them, that will benefit them. So we have to be willing to stand trial. We have to be willing to stand trial. And I know the whole thing about the blood of Jesus and when I should have been guilty, I wasn't guilty. I get that. But in this earth realm, in this interpersonal relationships that we are put on this earth to build and to strengthen, forgiveness is necessary, baby. And that sometimes means you got to be on this earthly trial. The same way when you ran that light, the same way when you didn't pay your taxes, the same way when all the other stuff happened in your life and you got that warrant or that whatever, that ticket where you had to go to court. Yeah. It's this trial that we have to be willing to stand for our children so that they can be free. And not just in these young ages, but it's a lot of adult children right now that just that need a voice. And because they didn't get that voice, they still cutting up. You still got that, 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, however old, still digging their heels in, trying to have their voice, trying to have their opinion, trying to be seen, trying to be whatever. Because of whatever didn't happen when they were kids. And I find a lot of older adults telling their grown children, get over it. Let it go. Let it go. It's over. It's over. It's over. And like I said, I've been really thinking about it a lot. And as parents, what's our position? What's the position of a parent with a child that won't let it go? That won't let it go, because yeah. Let me go and see how we looking. So the question was, how long is forgiveness for? It's an issue when we put constraints on forgiveness in the context of children. They are people as well, and the goal and purpose of forgiveness doesn't change based on the age of who's involved. Yes. I often tell my parents, I say, children are just little humans. They're little humans. They feel everything we feel. And actually what they feel is intensified because they haven't learned to cap it yet. They haven't learned how to fake it yet. So what they feel is raw, is genuine, and it's like right in your face. And so there is no age involved in it. It's needed. It's so needed. Thank you for the tea. Thank you for the tea. Says, because we are parents, we do our best to do the right thing. I'm assuming that right thing goes in there. It doesn't always make us right, does it? No, it does not. It doesn't, Connie. A lot of times we say, hey, we did the best that we could. I can look at my parents and say they did the best that they could. This is what I've told my children about myself, and this is for me. I'm not putting it on anybody else. I tell my children, my adult children and all my children, mainly my adult children, because we talk about the things that they happened when they were growing up. And I said, I did the best that I chose to do. And, they kind of looked at me, and it was the truth. I didn't do the best I could. I did the best that I chose to do. I chose to do the best that I wanted to do. Because there's too much out there right now. There's too many options. There's too many. You got internet, you got books, you got therapists, you got all kinds of tools that parents can use to do better. You got that one auntie that does better than you. You got that white person down the street that you talk about, that you be like, I cannot believe they let little Johnny do blah, 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 blah. But it might have been a good thing not to beat your child with a water hose, or to go and have them go get a switch off the doggone tree and decipher in front of them which one is the best weapon to use on them. That could be traumatizing for some children. There's just things we did. There's some things that I did with my children, and I had to be honest. And I said, I took the easy way out. It was easier to pop you than to figure out how to talk to you. It was easier to ground you than to figure out what else to do with you. I didn't know. I didn't want to. I just went the easy route. I had other things that was all on my plate, so on and so forth. And that's my reality. You choose your own reality as a parent. I had to come with my own honesty. For me, I did what was easy. I did what I knew to do. And I didn't look for another option. Even though, honestly, I saw it failing. I saw it not working. I saw my children kicking back. I saw my children bucking the system. I saw our relationship kind of getting weird. And I saw my children, having more fear for me than respect. And I didn't want that, but that was what I knew to do. I feared my parents. And so I thought the best way to keep them safe, best way to control them, is for them to fear you. Well, my other two little ones, they don't. I wish they had a little more fear in them because they literally do not. They be like, Mom. So, but I did what was easiest for me. It wasn't what was easiest for them. It wasn't what was best for them. It was what was easiest for me, because I was working. I was doing this. I was doing that. But the reality is, my life and my decisions was based on my decisions. I chose not to finish college. I chose to have kids early. I chose to do boop, 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 boop. Not their problem. Not my children's problem. But When parents look back, we say, I was working hard to try to feed y'all that you were supposed to because we had them. We have to now feed them. That was our choice. And we want them to be grateful for the ridiculous stuff that we do, trying to backpedal on some of our ridiculous choices we made as parents. It's the reality. I'm sorry. And we can have 1,000 and quadrillion and a bazillion excuses for all the things we did. But the reality is, when a child comes into this world, he did not inseminate himself. We chose that. We brought him into this world, and now we want them to feel sorry for us for having to take care of them. No, I mean, it's the truth. Every family has that one child that was bold enough to say, I didn't ask to be born. You the one got with my daddy, and you should have used protection. And we watched them get beat down. But that boldness was some truth. It was true. We all know of or have someone in our family that didn't want to watch the kids and was like, these your kids. Why I gotta watch your kids? And blah, 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 right? And we saw their demise. But the reality of that was, yeah, those ain't her kids. That's your choice. It was our choice as parents. And so as parents, we got to do better. We got to get better at exemplifying forgiveness. What does that look like? Well, first, we have to be willing to ask for forgiveness. We still think we're right. We still justifying our behaviors based on when we were born or what was going on and blah, and blah, 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 blah. We still justifying our behaviors. And our children are suffering. Our children are suffering from it. Our babies, our adult babies. We got adult children that's, failing to launch. Why aren't you growing up? Why are you stuck? What's the problem? Right? There needs to be some going back. There needs to be some real soul searching. But I will say this. Do not ask for forgiveness until Holy Spirit has prepared you for that. Because there has to be a trial. There has to be a trial, because what it does is when you go on trial, Holy Spirit allows you to see and feel all that occurred in this person's life, whether it was based on their perception or not. Our words, without your words, there was no perception. Without our actions, there was no taking it the wrong way. We had to do something for something to happen. So there's no hiding spaces. There has to be that trial. And we're going to talk about that trial when we come back next time. Now, I will not be here next week. So if you have a comment, and I know a lot of parents got some comments, so you can still leave them in. You can watch this later. Leave the comments. We'll talk about it, not next week, but the week after. Again, I will not be here next week because we have our WOW session, which is the private 2-hour session for those of you who registered. But I will be back in September, and we will continue in this thing, because this is one of my forgiveness, okay? And how we live with that thing, and how we walk that thing out, and how we bring meat for repentance, and how we give that long time, because there's time. You have to allow people the grace and the mercy to work it out. So we have something from Leonard here. And I am going to pull it up, and we are going to definitely have to talk about it next week, but there's no time limit. Yes, you want to be able to give them time to reach for it. Absolutely. Patience. You got to have patience. You don't know how deep it went. But okay, guys, I'm going to go now. We will talk about this again, Leonard. I hope you come back in 2 weeks. And I thank you guys once again for allowing me to impart some stuff into you. I'll play this again next week for those of you guys who missed it. Until then, I'll see you guys on Mom and Monday.